Hello and welcome back to the Game Dev Show. I'm here with Paul, Johnny, and Andrew. And today we're going to be talking about artificial intelligence, video games, some of the cool stuff at CES. And I think we had one or two other interesting topics that we might dive into later too, if we have some time. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and say hello in chat. And let's get started. So how have you guys been? How's everybody doing?
Great.
Quite well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Just got back from CES, so yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, I was hoping you would maybe pop in live from there, just walking around the floor last week.
Right.
I'm sure it was probably a lot of fun and a lot of exciting distractions and cool stuff.
I had no internet on the show floor.
Oh yeah, that's another problem. I run into that at pretty much every conference. Like the internet connection is total crap because every nerd there is trying to use it to download and upload.
You
something
could buy their Wi-Fi, but it costs $300 for the 4 or 5 days. So.
Oh wow. Okay. It probably sold well too. So did you see lots of cool stuff there at CES? I assume you saw all kinds of crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, I saw all kinds of cool stuff. AR stuff, VR stuff. I'm just kind of going through my list of notes here. Saw some cool display tech, just random miscellaneous stuff. A lot of vehicle tech was there too. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, that color changing BMW thing was nuts. I saw that on day one. I was like, oh, this is like the future of cars, and it's gonna be crazy when they keep putting that stuff into everything. So what game dev related things? You said you saw lots of VR and AR stuff. Did you see like their new VR and AR tech that is just announced at CES that's coming out, or did you get to show and like try anything out that was awesome and new?
Yeah, a lot of good AR stuff. I got to try out the Magic Leap 2, so that was interesting to go hands-on with that. So yeah, I mean, of course, Magic Leap, I'm sure many of you have heard. It's kind of their AR glasses, basically, and they connect to like a little processing box. It's kind of like a circular disc thing. In the demos, they kind of had like you could like throw a strap over your shoulder and it can kind of hang off that. Or in the one that I did, I was just kind of holding it in my hand. But they basically had like 6 different demos set up. I don't know what all the kind of demos were, but the one that I did was to showcase some like the local and global dimming features. So basically what that does is, so there's kind of like the regular like AR image that you see in the glasses that, projects out into the world. But there's another layer that can actually dim like portions of the screen or even like the full AR screen to basically like block out things in the real world, so that like if when you see like these AR images, you can kind of like see through them a little bit, but it kind of like puts some little bit of dimming behind it, so that makes it look like more solid in the world. So it was a really interesting effect. Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah,
so that's just in the 2. That's a new feature of the Magic Leap 2.
Yeah, and as far as I know, and I think that they were kind of saying this during the demo, is that the I think I'm getting some feedback. Anyways, I realized that I think I have the stream open on my laptop over there. I hear something going on.
Okay.
Anyways,
We're not hearing it
in a sec. Yeah. So the Magic Leap 2, as far as I know, it's the only one that does local dimming. There was another one, these Ant Reality Optics. They're basically like an AR optics manufacturer that they were showcasing a lot of their new optics. These were cool because they had like a really wide field of view and everything. But they're just like the optics manufacturers. They don't make like any headsets or anything. But
making the parts that are going into the headsets instead.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the field of view like on that Magic Leap 2? That was always the biggest problem I've had with every AR headset that I've played with.
So it definitely wasn't like your full entire field of vision, but it was like, I'd say it was pretty good. I mean, it's just like kind of the main portion that you're looking. In the demo that I did, there was kind of like, basically there was like a table with kind of like some boxes on it. And then the global dimming or the local dimming would basically like block out kind of some of the boxes on the table. And then it would basically display this kind of like, architectural model of a building kind of over that. And then So yeah, it was like kind of like a tall building, and so like the top of it kind of get cut off, and then if you look up, kind of the bottom got cut off a little bit. So it wasn't like again like your whole field of view, but it was at the point where it was like you don't really need more than that for it to be like useful for I'd say most business applications.
Okay, so it wasn't like the original HoloLens where you just have the little strip. It's quite a bit bigger than.
Yeah,
and the Magic Leap 1 is quite a bit
like,
bigger, right?
Yeah, it was definitely like functional, and the resolution looked pretty clear. I will say the one thing that was kind of buggy was sort of like the tracking. So when they first gave me the glasses, they had like it kind of like outlined basically like the table that they were demoing it on, but it was like way up and to the left.
Oh,
It
okay.
was like completely off, and I'm like putting it on. I'm like, I don't think this is right. And then the guy like put it on, and he like busted out the controller, and he was like going around and like had to like fix some things and realign the tracking or whatever.
I wonder how much of that is just the environment being in those like whenever you're in those conference environments, everything gets all messed up because the lighting is really strange, and
just so much interference
50-foot
from
ceilings and stuff.
everything.
It's all...
Yeah. And then also it basically did hand tracking. So I didn't use a controller during the demo. I basically just like used my hand and like kind of like reached out into the world to like flip some switches basically. And they kind of did like this like skeleton view of your hand, so you could see kind of like where the Magic Leap thought that your hand was. And in parts of it, it kind of like got broken. So like my actual hand was here, but like the skeleton hand was like up here. So like I would have to like reach further in to like hit a switch in the menus or something. So it's just a little bit buggy like that, but I mean it was a cool experience.
Oh, that's cool.
$3,300, by the way.
Oh, okay. I thought I just recently saw an article about Magic Leap getting bought too. I have to dig into that though. Oh,
yeah,
did they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess yeah. I'm not surprised. It's been a very long time. They've been working on this stuff. So
yeah,
that's cool. I really want to try out it too. Go ahead.
How
Matt.
does it compare to the other AR, like the HoloLens 2 and I don't know if you
like
tried
a Quest Pro?
others. Yeah.
Actually, can you compare it to a Quest Pro?
Well, so I haven't used a HoloLens or a Quest Pro yet, so yeah, I don't have any direct comparisons on those. I think the difference with Quest Pro is that's like the doing the full color pass through rather than like you're actually looking through some lenses. And also another feature with the Magic Leap is rather than doing just the local dimming where it would kind of like dim behind some objects, there was also a global dimming where it basically like blacks out the whole screen, so you're basically in kind of like a more immersed kind of environment. So it's like similar to like you're being in VR, but again you don't have the whole entire field of view, but it was a really cool feature.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah,
that's cool. Is there anything else like super cool game devy that you saw that you definitely want to share? I mean, we talk about lots of CES stuff, but I don't know if there's something super cool. I don't want to bury the lead. Like, share the coolest thing first.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, the other cool thing was with the Ant Reality optics. I think those were like they were really cool to see. Again, like the field of view was much wider on those than the Magic Leap. But again, it wasn't like the demo was basically it just kind of showing like a video loop. Like you couldn't like really put the glasses on and do any kind of like tracking with them. It was more just kind of showcasing the optics tech. But they also did have the sort of global dimming feature where they had like kind of a station set up with an AR and VR button, and you could basically toggle back and forth, and it would basically just black out the screen and be in kind of that more immersed environment. So that was again super cool to see.
Yeah, it does sound cool on an AR headset.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just looking at their page right now. I was going to share it, but apparently I don't know how to use a computer. It does look interesting.
Which one? Ant Reality or Magic Leap?
The Ant Reality one. It's going to pop that up.
Yeah.
See if I can find my...
All right, and I'm going to turn off this other stream here.
That sounds like a plan. Yeah, I cannot find this one. Oh, there we go. Apparently I just don't know how to use it. So this is their page. Interesting. Ant Reality. Oh. Sorry, I'm just sitting here talking to myself, looking at these, looking at these pictures here. Anyway, that's cool. Did you see any cool car tech? I have to ask real quick. Like, is there anybody playing like video games in cars now, or like on the cars, or
super cool? Starting with some of the coolest tech. So Caterpillar, the construction company Cat, they were there. They had a lot of really cool stuff. They had this like massive dump truck. It was like taller than like a 2-story house. It was huge. Fully autonomous. So there doesn't need to be any driver in it at all. They can, and it's not even, it can be remote controlled, but it's fully autonomous. They can say, go here and it will just go there. So that was cool. And they also had some like remote excavators set up. So they had like some excavators, like literally just like out in a field, one in Arizona and one in Illinois. And then on the show floor, they had like a remote control setup where people could, hop in the booth and then like actually control these and like dig up a field and, this remote place. So it was really cool to see.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
Work from home is really getting out of hand.
No kidding.
I'm a crane operator from home.
Yeah, right.
Oh, hold on, my kid's coming in.
Oh, the Wi-Fi's down again.
Wi-Fi is down. The crane can't dump.
Yeah, as you're holding this massive like beam.
Hold on, my kid's downloading something. That is cool. It sounds like they got a lot of remote stuff and then some AI stuff like hooked into that too, which is one of the other things I wanted to really talk about today. Paul showed something really cool AI related, and yesterday I had lots of AI talk. We've been talking a lot about this in the last week or so, but I guess while we're still on CES, was there any cool like AI stuff that you noticed at CES? I mean, I don't know that it would necessarily need to be there. It seems like it's everywhere, but anything that they were showing off?
I didn't come across anything like particularly interesting on the AI side. I mean, I'm sure there was stuff being showcased, but I mean, it's kind of like hard to, I guess, kind of showcase that in a booth that like, really catches your eye or something like that. So I didn't really like get to see anything, not really too much AI related stuff, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
What just happened? I think your kid just got a job working on a farm from your office.
I think
and
so.
now your connection is
and the
down.
internet has fallen apart. Yeah, it seems like everything slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah, you got very
There we go.
pixelated. I think it's maybe a little better, but
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm seeing it here. Like my entire internet connection has fallen apart because I tried to load up a web browser, showing some cool AI stuff that Paul shared earlier. Okay, so not a whole lot there, but there has been. Have you been paying attention to all the cool AI stuff that's been coming out in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah,
3
absolutely.
weeks. It's been a couple weeks since we talked. The Chat GPT, Midjourney, all of the things tying into Chat GPT and all that.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm actually running a
Have you been using it at all?
Yeah, I have a stable diffusion instance that I'm just running locally on my PC, which has been super cool. It wasn't really too difficult to set up. You kind of just need to download the what you call it, the training data set or whatever, and then kind of hook it into a program that you can get from GitHub. So it's pretty easy to set up, and it's been fun to use.
Nice. What have you been using it for?
So a lot of stuff actually. I've kind of been using it for like art for my like tutorial videos, because I can, again, just like redistribute it, and I have, full rights to do all that. So in my Dots 1.0 tutorial video that I did a couple months ago, I had kind of like this like zombie graveyard set up. And so actually all the textures in that project were made using an AI.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're using it for like menu screens and game over screens, stuff like that too? That's one of the things I found super handy. Like just pop it in there,
really
like,
been doing too much of that yet, but I think that's a perfect use case to just give me a button.
Splash screen, concept art too. I don't know if any of you guys have tried this out yet. But one of the things I've been doing is generating concepts and then hiring artists based off those generated concepts, and they really love it. Like the artists that I've worked with on these projects like that, they really like that. Just giving them something like, just make it like this with your style. Done. I don't have to explain it, and it just works for them. And I found it to be super handy because getting concept art is also very difficult for me to do, because I have to like try to describe what's loosely in my head that I don't really know. So being able to just hit the button a couple times, find something like that's pretty close to what I want, do that. Like it's been a huge time saver, and it's made getting art done 1,000 times easier, because
For sure.
now I can just give them something instead of words that, you know, have to somehow translate this picture back and forth.
Yeah. And actually, real quick, I do see someone in the chat ask, what is Stable Diffusion? So just to clarify real quick. So as far as what I understand, Stable Diffusion is kind of the tech that runs Midjourney. So I'm basically just running that tech just locally on my computer. So I don't need to, use like a Midjourney service or anything like that.
I think Midjourney uses something different. I think it's
different.
Yeah, I think they have their own system. Stable Diffusion is the open source version of that. It's a different algorithm and system entirely, as I understand it. But you can run it on your own local computer. There are services you can run on the cloud. There's a new Midjourney clone, it looks like, on Discord that uses the same Imagine / and everything that uses Stable Diffusion. So they're basically just a middleman there, making it easier.
Especially that now there are lots of models that work together with Stable Diffusion and backend that we can download. 1 second. I gave you, Jason, the link because the models are on this site, Civit AI, and there are lots of different models that work with Stable Diffusion and Automatic 1111. So you can choose which model gives you what types of graphics. So the Dreamlike Diffusion 1.0 is similar to Midjourney, but there are lots of more photorealistic models right now.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, Stable Diffusion tends to be lower quality. I think I've seen really high quality things, but you have to work for it. You have to figure out the right, AI model to use, et cetera, et cetera. Where Midjourney is, I would explain as they seem to be going in the direction of they want to be the best, but they are going to provide, a slightly limited set of options. Obviously, you can't run it on your own system, not yet, at least. You have to go through them. There's content moderation. Obviously, with that Civit, it looks like there is some not quite moderated content going on there. So
still moderated. It's not completely inappropriate.
Tastefully moderated.
Tastefully hidden behind a blur, is my guess. But
probably
Midjourney
all the
won't.
blurred ones.
Yeah. And Midjourney won't allow that. I think that's kind of what we're gonna get to the future, where you're gonna have mainstream services and AI, and hopefully in the end we have many, many, many different types of AIs to choose from depending on our use cases. And most of them are going to be like, okay, we're mainstream, we're not going to allow this. Others might be more open source, and open source will be more free for all. And Stable Diffusion is going that route, it seems like, in my opinion.
Yeah. Stable Diffusion's worked super well for me for like just generating textures. Nothing like too, something like this where you're kind of making, art of a character or something. But again, mostly just been using it kind of for textures and backgrounds, things like that.
Totally. Just this week I've been doing live streams on a new character creation scene. I'm updating the game modules to V4 major update, and in this I'm redoing the demo. And I now that Midjourney exists, it didn't exist when I made the first demo. So now instead of gray boxes and simple buttons, we've got AI art in there, and it looks much better. Jason, I'll post that's a link to one of the streams I did earlier this week. It looks much better, but also, I think it's gained more clicks. People watch it more. And then I've gotten a lot of comments and messages on the Discord about, oh, wow, your game looks so good. Your game's coming along. They don't even realize it's not even a game. It's a demo scene for an asset that you can get on the asset store to make your own game with. But just having good looking art, and we talked about this before, pretty things, I think a lot of people feel are they just like it better. That's more fun to work with, even if it's basic, it's more fun to work with basic art than with gray boxes for many people. And I think from a vantage point of trying to get people interested in what you're building, art's going to go a long way. And you can get stuff like this from the asset store already. For my purposes, I couldn't distribute that, so it was impossible for me to do that. I'd have to go out and hire an artist, which, let's be frank, I would do if I was going to make thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But in this case, I'm not. So that investment would not be very prudent. But with Midjourney and these, it's a nice, I spent probably an hour or so getting this artwork together because I am a little bit of a perfectionist when it comes to this stuff. And
Is that including the buttons there that we're seeing?
Yes, the buttons are AI art as well. I did have to Photoshop those because you're never going to get a clean button like that. So I Photoshopped it and then 9-sliced it inside Unity and stuff. So there was some manipulation involved, and I think someone mentioned in the comments about ChatGPT. It's a tool. So it's a tool. It gets you quite a bit of the way there. If you really want to use it well, you're not going to do a flip. And I think the term AI flip, I'm going to coin that right now. That's the term I'm coining for when you take AI outputs and you just say, look what I made. That's an AI flip. Same as an asset flip on Steam. And so if you do an AI flip, yeah, whatever. But the truth is it's a tool. It'll get you 90% of the way there. And you just have to do a little bit more to make it usable for your purpose. But I mean, honestly, I would not have been able to make a scene like this without, purchasing art. And that would have been a much bigger, probably would have taken me longer just to decide what to buy and to gather what I needed from myriad sources. I'm sure I could have gotten all of this from the asset store, especially now that there's so many character icon packs, thanks to Midjourney and others on the asset store, in drag and drop. So I could do that really quick, or we can create ourselves. It takes a little bit longer to use it commercially. You do need to pay for their thing. So it's going to cost you at least $30 for the 1 month to use it commercially and stuff.
But then you can redistribute it and put it into your stuff, which you couldn't do with the asset store thing. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
so
I think it's super handy. That's why I've been using it a lot too, because I can generate things that I can include and I can actually upload it without it being a violation, some copyright problem or an asset store problem. So I found it super, super handy. And I think it's just nice for people who want to get art done, but just realistically can't. I mean, most of the time, there are a lot of people who would love to have some 2D art made, but there's no way in hell they're going to be able to spend, $50, $100, $1,000, or $2,000 to get a piece of art made or multiple things done. So it's super handy there too, and it's just so fast. It's like hit the button, hit the button, hit the button, hit the button until oh, that is exactly what I'm thinking. Now, please, artist, can you make this into a real thing? That's been my workflow, and it's been freaking amazing. Somebody asked in comment what a good art tools are. Go ahead, Andrew, and then
I was going to say I it's work in progress, so I'll have to follow up on the results. But a few months ago, I released a cute baby monsters AI art pack on the asset store. It was a really cool look, just cute baby monsters. I thought it was just really neat, so I just threw it out there. It took a little bit to produce and process and all that, but put it out there. And the feedback I got from people was like, "Wow, are you going to make these 3D models?" And I was thinking, well, I wasn't planning on it, but they do look super cute, and maybe they'd be really compelling. So I found a studio, I guess. It was actually a YouTube ad from a streamer, and I was like, all right, let me reach out. And so I work in progress now on the first baby monster model from an AI art proof. And because I had that AI art concept art, I was able to say, this is, and they were like, oh, this came from Midjourney. I was like, yep. And they're like, cool. Because obviously some of the limbs were a little.
It's got the file name with the GUID in there.
No, I did change the file names probably, but it's got so I've got the first result, and so far so good. And the ease of saying, this is what I want, like this is the character I want you to make, is just amazing. Because otherwise it would have been me going on to Pinterest, finding a bunch of copywritten art that kind of speaks to what I'd like, and saying, well, I like this part of that, this part of that. It kind of needs to be like this, but more like this, with eyes like that and horns like that. And then you have to hope that the artist understands what you're talking about and doesn't go too deep.
That actually looks right too.
Yeah, they might just copy what you gave them, and then now you're like screwed because you just got something that you can't use commercially. So it's just it's a game changer for that process, I think.
Yeah, it's been huge for me. So let's answer this question real quick in chat. Everybody who's got one, they asked what services are good for making AI art. We've mentioned Midjourney, which is free and they have a relatively cheap tier. And then there's the stable diffusion setup that Johnny was talking about. You guys got anything else?
Lexica released a new version. It was a repository for the images. Now they released their own model for the AI art. I gave you the link.
Pull that up. Yeah, I'm gonna grab that and we'll share it right here. If I can get my links in, there we go.
Yeah, so you have the big library of images. And what's fun about this generator that you just can click one of the images and take it. There's open in editor, so you can make images in this style based on the quotes that they are already there. So you have quite fun.
We'll sign in and let's give it a try. Oh,
my preference so far is Midjourney because of it's relatively easy to use. The quality seems to be higher than everything I've been getting from others. I've tried DALL-E. Someone mentioned about watermarking. I don't know if they still do it, but when I first tried DALL-E, there were watermarks, which was an instant turn off for me. I'm like, no, sorry. So I stopped using that. I've played around with a couple of the others, but generally speaking, I put in a prompt that I may have just been using on Midjourney to produce really good results that are consistent, and I get just really different results. Just yesterday, there was the Midjourney clone I tried. I put in a thing about an anthropomorphic lion wearing medieval armor and very specific other things to get a background that I was looking for in this very unique art style that I was achieving, and the results were just 4 lions. So it didn't quite get what I was going for.
This is pretty cool though. I had not seen this one. I'm gonna be
It's a
playing
new one. It's I think one because earlier they were a repository for the AI art that you can search for different AI art created by different models, and now they just release their own.
Wow.
This is they're billing themselves as the Stable Diffusion search engine.
Yeah, because that was their beginning. Yeah, and now they created
started.
based on it. They created their own model.
Interesting.
Neat. So they got, there's a search and then a generate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool.
And
any other cool ones that we should know about?
No, I'm also most using for concepts and stuff like that, but I mostly use the Stable Diffusion. Yeah, so I have quite a strong PC, so I installed the Stable Diffusion with several of models, and I prefer it that way. Yeah, lots of more control over it, and I can tweak all the parameters that are not tweakable on the ones on the sites.
Yeah, this stuff is just getting nuts. Okay, what's this Blue Willow one that somebody shared? Has anybody seen that?
That's the one. That's the Midjourney clone. It looks and feels just like Midjourney, but it's Stable Diffusion. And you know how especially early Midjourney, you could see a picture and be like, well, that's clearly Midjourney. And I think there was recently an artist who got banned on Reddit because their real art looked too similar to Midjourney art. I think Stable Diffusion has a look still. There's an uncanny valley when it comes to the humans that it produces, where you can kind of tell it's Stable Diffusion. So as an example, I went to Blue Willow. I didn't know it was Stable Diffusion. I just searched in prompt. This is where I got the lions, by the way. And the results clearly looked like Stable Diffusion to me. So it turns out it was. So I think it's an interesting thing where oftentimes AI tends to homogenize things. And I think the creators of these algorithms and whoever's working on these probably will need to make a concerted effort to reduce the homogenization, whatever the word might really be. They need to work on that because there is this sense that over time, Midjourney's faced it. They're changing their models consistently, though. So I think you're not noticing it as much. But I think things start looking like they came from a system to the point where, humans can understand this came from that. This came from this.
Yeah, I think that certainly might be the case. I can tell, or at least I feel like I can tell the AI generated ones a lot because they have some weird imperfections that just don't make any sense. A lot of the time, most times, like that just doesn't really make any sense. Like, doesn't seem like something an artist would actually do. Heterogeneous. Just tell them to make it non-heterogeneous in your prompt.
I think we want it to be heterogeneous.
I thought you wanted it to look different. Say, make this look different than all the rest of your art.
I think heterogeneous would be different, and homogeneous would be the same.
Oh, that's got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Words can be hard. This is why we have ChatGPT now, because words are hard.
Yes, and that's the other one I've been using consistently. I've been using it a lot. Yeah. Not as much for code as you would think, but occasionally for code. If I need like a math formula or any little bit of code to do something with the transformer, I'm like, I think I remember, but I'll just ask it real quick and see what it does. But I've also been using it to write all kinds of different docs, all kinds of different things. I've been showing it to quite a few people who are doing non-game development stuff too. A friend who's starting a business needs all of these documents and things written up that he's paying tens of thousands of dollars for, and then he put in the prompt and he's like, this is exactly like the same thing that I just paid $3,000 for. It's like I just paid $2,000 for this one, and it just generates these documents. I also found it good for like game design docs, for some email stuff. I'm trying it out. I haven't actually sent any emails with it, but I play with it. Writing YouTube scripts is kind of interesting. Getting some ideas for some non-video game scripts. Like, I don't know how I would start that. Like, this is actually really good, like nice intros and stuff. But I found it useful for a lot of stuff. Oh, the one other thing, resumes and cover letters. If you're not writing cover letters and you're applying for jobs, like at the very least, be lazy, go to ChatGPT and tell it to write a cover letter for you for this specific company and this job. Give it 2 sentences like, hey, write a cover letter for this position at this job that does this thing. It'll write you out a nice cover letter that you can probably just paste right in. It'll be better than no cover letter. So if you're not doing one at all, like at the very least, generate one and pop it in there. It seems like it's just changing a lot of stuff for me. But
I've been using it every single day. Almost every day. I used it for the character creation scene to generate the flavor text for all the different stats and the various skills that you could get in the scene and the different classes and races of the character.
Did you use it to get an idea for new stats?
I did not, but it did. It named whenever I put in a magic spell, I said, give me a short description. I basically kept saying, give me one for this. Give me one for this after I got the first one done, because it remembers what you've been talking about.
Give me one for a fire spell.
It started giving me the Latin names or whatever for all these magic schools, like aeromancy, pyromancy, and all this other stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I wouldn't have come up with that. I probably could come up with better flavor text, but it would have taken me longer than just the simple copy whatever they give me and stick it in as a placeholder. All I really needed was basic data that kind of made sense, and I can fix it up later. That's the journey.
You can change the ones that you actually want to later, right? Because most of them you're just not going to care. They're like, oh, this is plenty fine. It's just there to add a little bit of flavor to the game.
Yeah, some were fine. Some were like, nah, I wouldn't. This doesn't actually apply for my game. It tended to be focusing more on knights, even though it was like, not all knights. I've noticed that sometimes your chat history goes away too.
I noticed that too. For the 2 mentioned that it lost the chat history in chat, and I saw that this morning and I was like, oh, all the things I generated are gone.
Yeah, when they update their system, it probably doesn't work anymore like that. Like that's my best guess. And then for code, I think it works pretty well as a tool for code. Always have to check the code because it does get things wrong. It doesn't always get it wrong, and sometimes it gets wrong only a little bit, and sometimes it gets very wrong. I actually was facing this last night, and Jason, maybe you know this off the top of your head. Can a dictionary, string dictionary, be converted into a JSON string?
I don't think by default with the JSON converter that's in Unity. It didn't serialize dictionaries. You can use JSON.net to do it, but I don't, unless they modified it, it didn't store dictionaries. It didn't serialize them. So you just have to create a list of objects instead and then serialize that out.
Exactly. So that's what I ended up doing after about an hour of trying to figure this out, because I was following a tutorial that didn't use JSON for saving. And I was just trying to get some information there. And so I was using JSON, but then ChatGPT was saying it should work. And I was like, sounds like it should work because they're just strings and JSON can work with strings. and it was saying, "Yep, here's the code." And I was like, "It's not working." Finally, I ended up creating new classes that had just key values as strings and works perfectly fine. That's what I used to do. But yes, ChatGPT.
That's a Unity specific thing though. It's on that JSON conversion. The regular C# one, though, at least from what I remember, it would serialize a dictionary just fine. It was just the Unity one. I thought that they had fixed that though, but I think it was something else that I'm thinking of that they'd added support for.
Only JSON.NET
okay.
works well with dictionaries.
Yeah, you just need to write yourself a little extension method that converts it to a list and then back to a dictionary, right? Like a little one-liner that does 2 dictionary and then you can do like a 2 list and convert it to a list of objects. So you should be able to do that in like a simple one-liner, but it is confusing because it seems like it's working and just doesn't actually save.
Yeah. So but other than that, I've been learning a lot from ChatGPT. I will ask it questions like, "What's a struct?" I came across a struct, and I've heard of the word struct before, but I didn't know exactly what a struct was, and it explained to me basically what a struct was, and provides a lot of context, a lot of extra stuff that you weren't quite asking about, but maybe it figured you want to know, or at least is around that. It's been very helpful in that regard as well.
Yeah, I like that you can ask it like follow-ups about where would I use this? Give me some examples, like
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how I've been using it, like as a learning tool. Just like I'm like, okay, so what are some ways that I could, accomplish this? And then like, okay, so what's kind of the limitations of doing it this way? If I wanted to do it this way, does it support this feature or something like that? And yeah, it is cool because you have that kind of ongoing, chat going, and it kind of remembers your earlier messages and kind of like some of your earlier requirements. So it is super cool.
Yeah, one of the things, it surprised me in my long conversation the other night with it, where I asked another question and it gave me the answer, and then it said, "But if you're trying to do it with this," and it mentioned a class I talked about many hours before, then it gave me a caveat about that class.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, well, that is helpful. That is very helpful.
Yeah.
Jason, do you have that? Pavel shared the video of this video game with using ChatGPT, and this is phenomenal.
Yeah, this is one I wanted to talk about today. Sorry, I was signing up for that. The link that was it Johnny that sent that? No, Paul sent it.
No, I sent it.
Yeah, the OpenAI professional or ChatGPT Pro. Yeah, I was It's in another tab.
So I think it was 2 days ago. OpenAI gave link and said they are thinking about moving to ChatGPT professional version. Yeah, so right now the info is that the ChatGPT normal will be free, but there will be a new version that's professional that will be faster and maybe have even some internet connection.
All right, now I got it.
Yeah, especially that I think from yesterday the ChatGPT, I don't know how you guys, is saying that they are experiencing high demand and there is no chat history.
I noticed I was trying to show people a couple times yesterday and the day before, and it was way overloaded. It was constant, and a lot of them didn't even go back until I was like, no, just go back, hit F5, refresh it in a minute, it's gonna work. A lot of people just gave up. So yeah, I would be more than willing to pay for it. So reach out to me. I'm just signing up for it now. How upset would you be if I could no longer use it?
They're asking what prices are people willing to pay for it.
Yeah. I put $50 at the max. Although, if I'm being honest, I would probably pay more for it once I started getting some more value out of it. But I don't want to put a number too high. That seems really cool. So on ChatGPT, the thing you were talking about, Andrew, was this Mountain Blade Bannerlord that Paul shared, which is nuts. I'm going to share the link in chat. You want to talk about what this is?
It looks like literally you walk up to an NPC. And you can totally tell it's working because it's slow right now. But you walk up to an NPC and you can type something in. So as a player, there's no like dialogue choices. You can just, the NPC says something, you can reply with real language, and then the NPC will reply with AI language, and it seems from this demo at least to be pretty on point with the quests and the game and the character. I'm sure they've prepped this character with details about their backstory and name and what they do and everything. But the end result, as I think as a player, it seems to feel more fluid. It seems to feel like, okay, I am talking to somebody, I can ask them anything I want, and they will reply. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, that's clever, but also now it presents a new puzzle in the game, right? It's kind of like those old 1980s adventure games where you kind of had to be like, open door, pull handle, and figure out how to get the result. In this case, you might have an NPC who has some key information, but unless you ask them in the right way, maybe you have to ask them nicely, maybe you have to use threatening language, whatever it might be, they might not respond. And depending on how you talk to them, they'll respond differently. It's very interesting beyond just the coolness of it. I think it opens the doors for a lot of interesting game mechanics.
I completely agree. For anybody who's not able to see the screen, by the way, there's just characters in. This is Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord, I think it was. And there's they're walking up to a character, an NPC, pops up some text, and then just typing in whatever it is they want to say, like, hey, nice to meet you, what's your name? And it's popping up and telling them the character's name and diving into some backstory and able to answer questions. I'm really curious how intelligent it is and how much context of the game and like that character in the game world it actually has. Like how much of it is just like,
I think that in the first video, because I sent you second, in the first video it was just random NPCs. In the second one, they gave some background to all the characters that are showcasing there.
Yeah, it seems like advanced, like super cool thing. I'm just curious, like, can I be like, hey, or are they able to right now just be like, hey, this NPC sells stuff and you can actually trigger like buying and selling things through the chat, or you can trigger him doing things through chat. I'm just curious, like, how I'm sure it's probably relatively simple right now, and then in the next like 2 or 3 months it's going to be completely nuts, like all the rest of this AI stuff. It seems like it's going really, really fast.
I want to see one of the NPCs reply with, "We're sorry, Chat GPT is unavailable right now. Please try again later."
I think it will be interesting to see if these models can be scaled down to work on a local device, especially if you've constrained it with what it can do. So if it's specific to your game, you don't need to know everything about the James Webb Space Telescope in Mountain Blade. So you can reduce the size of in scope of the thing. I do wonder, Jason, how would you envision architecting a system that would enable, freewheeling and dealing via the AI dialogue, but also constrained enough to have, a consistent experience in regards to who the characters are that don't get, changed between playthrough, and have that ability to, do in-game actions that are tied to the rest of the data of the game.
Yeah, that's, I think, going to be an interesting problem to solve. I can think of a couple ways offhand that you might try to approach it, but I don't have the first clue on what would be the best. Right? You're going to want to have him triggering on something, maybe some set of some data that NPC has related to how its emotions or feelings, or its like progress towards some action. But I don't know how you would tie into the responses, and I don't know. I'm really curious. I wonder if anybody in chat has an idea. Let me know. So you'd have to somehow tie into like the context of the stuff that you're sending it and asking it, and stuff has to give back not just a response, but it's got to know the response and then trigger some other change in that NPC's data or in that NPC's model. Maybe I wonder if that'll eventually just be built into the model, but then it seems like it'd be really hard to control.
There need to be some sort of like kind of vague and globular keywords that trigger an event, like certainly the AIs would have to know if you've talked to another AI in some cases, like if Jim and Mary are married in the game and Jim's out in the field and Mary's out in another field, and you talk to Mary, then go do something else and you come back, Jim and Mary probably talk to each other, and maybe Mary said, oh, Jim, I met this guy, or this girl, and they're adventuring. So now when you talk to Jim, he might say, "Oh, yeah, Mary told me about you." So you'd have to be able to pass that information along as well. So there have to be some sort of event
like
system,
some shared context.
Yeah.
Like your bot would want to have like some shared player state context, and then also have the NPC context.
An understanding of the inventory of the player. Are they carrying that item that the NPC has been looking for? You didn't even know the NPC is a quest NPC, but turns out if you happen to have that special shield equipped when you walk by that quest NPC, they're going to be triggered, be like, holy shit, that's my shield. And you had no idea. Every other moment you talk to them, they're just like, I'm just doing my thing, cutting wood over here like a normal NPC.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really like, I know how to do that outside of AI. It's relatively easy, but when you start to mix in the AI stuff, I feel like it gets a lot more complicated, but also a lot cooler. Like this stuff right here just feels a lot like I've been wanting like Star Trek holodeck, right? Like you walk up, you talk to the NPC, it responds intelligently. Like these ones are probably about as smart as the next generation holodeck characters, right? Like they were kind of dumb, and then they got smarter and smarter and smarter to the point where they were sentient, right? Like,
except for Moriarty. Yeah, Moriarty. That no one's smarter than Moriarty.
Right. Yeah, those the outlier AIs, but the general ones were like relatively dumb. Yeah.
I think it's going to be really cool when instead of typing, you can just speak. And I saw some new AI. I forget where it was. Some new AI that does really, maybe it's Microsoft, does really good voice to text. It's supposed to be better than everything else by heads and heads. And couple then with AI voices, because we love voice actors. In fact, I know Oliver, who sometimes comes in the chat, it works with me, and he's a voice actor, and I want him to succeed in his voice acting. But at the same time, you can't have a voice actor do every line if the lines are all AI driven. You can have a voice actor record their voice for an AI voice generation, which I think is the way to go. But once you have those together, you're gonna have a scenario that's very similar to the holodeck, where you're just walking around and what you say can have much more of an impact now. And I think, I don't know, I'm just riffing here, but would this reduce the level of toxicity in video games, in multiplayer games, if the NPCs understood that you just called someone a nasty name and you probably shouldn't be trusted anymore?
That's funny.
Yeah, this stuff just has me all excited.
Yeah, no, I love that idea. I feel like you could like just walk up to any NPCs and like really like get into the weeds, ask them a bunch of questions about kind of the lore and things happening in the world. It's like they're not just giving you those like canned responses, but you can actually like dig into it, kind of like how your brain thinks a little bit more. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like if you could train it against the game design lore data too, it could be really cool. Because I think back to like on Vanguard, we had a game design document. I think it was like 200 and something pages, and 180 of them were lore and story.
Yeah.
Being able to just input that in so the NPCs actually know it and use it, and it's not reliant on designers to remember to go look at that, say, hey, did anybody use this part of the story yet, and then put it in. Like if the NPCs just kind of knew their own history from this big giant story that the story writers wrote, I feel like it would actually take that bit and make it useful, because there's a lot of wasted stuff that happens with games, especially around the design and the lore and stuff, that just doesn't, it usually just doesn't make it into the game because there's just not time and energy, and getting it in just doesn't make a lot of sense. But with this, I feel like you just train up your model on it and then start to bring the stuff in. I don't know exactly how you would do that, but I can see it happening.
Jason Story mentioned about Skyrim a long time ago. We were talking about the flavor text in the story, in the background of all this stuff about the Skyrim world, and how they have all the books, so you can read the books and stuff, and how some players like that, some players don't. With this kind of thing, players could choose the exact level of lore they want to know about, because they could ask about it or they can just ignore it.
Totally, yeah.
And that seems pretty cool. And I love that idea, Jason. Just, you have actual writers writing all this lore, probably with the assist of ChatGPT. And then you plug it in, and then somehow you'd have to let the AIs know where they are in this world, and maybe this AI system already can do that. I think probably it could. If you say, hey, like Skyrim, I'm a Red Guard, so that Red Guard character probably knows the lore and the history of the Red Guards. And from that point of view, and another Nord would have a different point of view about that. And then maybe it's kind of like AI movement that we have today in video games, where you really don't need that much. You just need a few common sense AI movement things, and suddenly the AI feels like it's moving very naturally. Perhaps you just need a few common sense backgrounds for an AI to kind of just seem like they're much more complex than they really are.
I think that's probably going to be the case. Although I don't know, I didn't expect the AI stuff to blow up and be as quick and crazy as it has been. So who knows?
Well, have you seen anything about ChatGPT 4?
Only that it's supposed to be drastically better than 3.
Yeah, I've heard that it can write a 60,000 word book based off of one prompt.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah. It's all of this stuff is so interesting because it's making I wouldn't say it's cheapening art and writing. It's certainly not doing that. I think it's increasing the value of human generated content, in my opinion, but it's lowering the barrier of entry for basic stuff. So it's making getting into it cheap. It's making the human stuff more valuable. And I think it's, the whole term democratization, it's we talked about this last week, I think, enabling people who could not do something to do something. So, we're going to have people who can't write well, but are great storytellers creating great stories. And we're going to have series of books written by AI that really is written by the human guiding the AI to write it. And eventually go ahead.
It shifts the level of thinking to a higher level of thinking. So you don't need to worry about, all like the technical weeds, but you're rather, it's an order of level above that. You're kind of like looking more over at the overall big picture.
Sure. Do you imagine, like, if you were going to rewriting a story, do you imagine that you would then go into it and be like, all right, this line, can you make it like, just add this word, like make it this word? And do you think that the AI would certainly over time slowly learn your style and your little wits and manners and the things that you prefer?
Yeah, I would think
That's
so.
what
I mean,
I do.
it kind of already does that a little bit with the, chat history, like we were talking about. Like it kind of has that context of what things you were asking it about before, and kind of tunes your responses with that in mind.
Yeah.
I always ask it to modify and like rewrite sentences in different tones, or more like I would, or change out different words. And I find that I don't know that it's keeping that context. I assume it's probably not from chat to chat, but I assume that in the short to medium future, it will be keeping all of that and then just kind of understand. But I find it really handy to tell it to write things and then just tell it like, hey, I don't like sentence 2 of paragraph 3. Can you try a couple different versions of that, or word that so that it's a little friendlier or something? And I mean, it's literally the way I'll write it, and it'll do exactly that and come up with some variations. I'm like, oh, okay, perfect. And sometimes I just rewrite it myself, but a lot of time I just like let it come up with a couple. I'm like, oh, that's what I was thinking.
I'm betting that Google, part of their future Google Docs, will have the AI built into it so it understands what you're writing, and you can go back and be like, hey, we're changing this character. Here's my story. It's 500 pages. This character used to be a knight. They're now a paladin. And can you update the entire story now to make this knight a paladin? And it will probably be able to, do that. Yes, do that, and tell you where it was. Tell you where it might want you to come in and check it as a human to be like, did I do this the way you were expecting? And so it will work with you to be like, there's some times where I know this is easy, I don't need to ask you. Other times where I know you probably want to have your own touch on these. Let me highlight those for you. And then if you're just wanting to update it, you can just update it,
Yeah, I think that Microsoft is working with OpenAI to bring in ChatGPT to Bing search engine. Yeah. So
Nice.
if they're working on Bing, I think they will be working on Office. Yeah.
I was just gonna
That's the
say
next
Microsoft
step.
should bring back Clippy.
Clippy's
I
smart
see that
now.
you're writing a recipe.
Oh my God, Clippy will finally be relevant and amazing.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it would be awesome and hilarious.
And Clippy will end up becoming the first sentient AI.
They should definitely do that as an
Clippy.
Easter
They're
egg.
gonna come back for everybody
That'd be
that talked
awesome.
shit about him in the past.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think. Yeah, Microsoft plans to invest $10 billion into ChatGPT.
That's right.
Yeah, I saw that. Not surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the future. It's not gonna be us going to ChatGPT. It's going to be that type of system built into the tools we use in order to make using those tools easier. Moon Ninja talks about having that system built into Unity. Well, yeah, absolutely. If I can say, hey, build me here's this package I got from the Asset store full of mountains and trees. I need a new version, but I need a river that goes through here, a waterfall down here, and there needs to be a cave behind that waterfall. And it just does it.
No,
I
I
mean,
think
all right.
what we are talking with the guys looking at the NVIDIA generations, I will think that in a couple of years, I would say it would go into just generating live 3D content. So you just write the game and it generates you live rather than creates you models. Yeah. Because you already have some NVIDIA showcases when you want to generate some video that flies through some kind of office and it generates you live video about it.
Yeah, I'm waiting for like the full. I've seen some like video generator ones that do like actual video from text. Now the AI generation generates the text and then generates the video. I'm waiting for ones that do it like with my face, so I can just pop myself in there. I think that'll be interesting. But I wanted to share something that somebody submitted before I forget. I keep forgetting about it. But before I do, I got to pop this up here because it came from me sending out an email asking for speaker submissions for GameDev Guild. I sent this out last week. If you're interested, the conference is in May, looking for speakers who are doing actionable talks, ideally Unity related or something that Unity developers can use day to day. So they, like your average Unity developer will go in and use it, not something that requires them to have like a huge team or a huge support system or be in a very specific scenario, right? Like that they have some weird edge cases. Ideally, talks that are kind of targeted at everybody. And one of the ones, the first one that came through was actually this. Actually, I'll drop the link real quick so people can submit a talk if they have one. Let me drop that in here before I forget. But one of the ones that came through first was this, if I can find my link. Solace Vision. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but it on their page at least describes itself as text to 3D design. You can see like they're saying a big river with a forest and 2 large mountains. Right? And then that's the picture here. How much of that's actually generated by this, I don't know because I haven't got into the alpha yet, but I did sign up for it and I want to check it out. So sorry to interrupt, but I thought this was super on exactly what you guys are talking about, like just being able to go in, type something up, and then have like a whole world generated and use that. So I wanted to share it. I'll drop the link in chat too. Have you guys seen this one?
Only earlier today when you told me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Same.
Yeah. Only
Yeah, and if you guys know of other ones, please send them out, share them. I'm curious, trying to see what other stuff is out there. What other new? I assume there's gonna be all kinds of crazy AI things in the next month.
This all reminds me of the old AT&T commercials from the early 90s or mid 90s about they're like, AT&T will make it powerful, and they're talking about the future and how you'll be able to make video calls from a payphone booth.
What?
That sounds
bit right.
Yeah, in hindsight, that sounds terribly inconvenient.
Yeah,
I have seen those phones before.
Yeah. So I think obviously that means 15 years from now, most of what we just said will be wrong, but some of it might be kind of accurate. And hopefully it will be really fun and we won't all be serving Chippy or Clippy.
Yeah, I want it to be all like a holodeck, but I don't know what that does for my job of teaching people how to make holodeck games.
Well, that's an interesting thing, and someone in the chat, Llama, had just mentioned, about this, I think, or touched on it as well. It's going to change everything, right? It's going to change how we teach. It's going to change what we teach about. Last week we discussed New York here in the States. New York has banned students using ChatGPT and similar things because they're afraid of people cheating. Yeah, duh. That's what people are going to do right away. But 5 years from now, they're not going to be cheating. They're going to be using it. I remember when I was a kid, 6th grade, I couldn't write in cursive well due to moving schools where they didn't teach me in one school and they didn't teach me in the other school. So I couldn't write in cursive well. I could type though in the 6th grade, and that was early on in the typing things. And I had a teacher who refused to let me turn in a paper that was typed. It had to be written in cursive in pen. And I would cry and cry and cry because I was so freaking frustrated. And of course, now nobody writes in cursive. Everyone types everything, and we don't even use paper anymore. So, I think clearly the tools that people ban today are going to be the tools people use tomorrow. So it's very short-sighted to keep people from using these tools. And I think in the end, that means, Jason, that the way you teach people is just going to change. But the fact that you're teaching people is always going to be there, because humans will always be better than the AI at the most human of things. It just changes what that definition of the human is.
Maybe wait till you find out I'm a robot.
Yeah, I think that the change will be quite big there, because, for example, my daughter is 11 years old. Yeah, they had to do some tasks from biology. They had to search some information about photosynthesis online and make a note on this. She took about 2 hours of work to make this note. It was 10 sentences. I checked how fast would it be with ChatGPT. I entered into ChatGPT. It gave me answer. It was too professional. I write this answer in the words of 11-year-old person. And it wrote it ideally as the same look, the same feel of a child. Yeah, that's learning.
Wow.
So, to be truthful, the information that she was learning isn't as important. Yeah, it was just gathering knowledge. Yeah. So yeah, it will change a lot, especially the ability to learn, to search information quicker.
That's the real trick about being intelligent. Doesn't mean you know lots of stuff. It means you know how to understand things and know how to get things and know how to interpret things. And I think with ChatGPT, one of the big lessons we're all learning now, especially if you're using it for code, don't trust it. You have to understand it. You have to be able to work with it and understand, have the communication skills and the literacy really about using it, so that you can learn from it what you need to learn from it, get from it what you need to get from it, and no longer be lonely.
Yeah. Good luck on that.
Once it's built into my comfort pillow, then life will be great, and I don't need to go outside.
I'm just gonna get you a little Chucky doll with ChatGPT voice controlled inside it.
Oh my gosh, the toys! Remember the movie AI? There, Steven Spielberg and Haley Joel Osment from way back in the day. One of my favorite movies. People didn't like it. I thought it was great, but there's a little teddy bear that walks around and is clearly, AI, and is an amazing toy. It talks to you, it comforts you, it has conversations with you, and I guess Teddy Ruxpin was just the V1 of what we're gonna have in the future.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, because there's no reason that this stuff isn't gonna eventually get into toys, right? Like it's gonna be there eventually. Give it a couple more years. Shrinks down and you got a little AI on a little chip that costs $1 that they pop into a toy. Like
with guardrails, very, very strong guardrails. Please.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure that'll be totally safe, Andrew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be the
Hopefully, it will
concern.
not connect to the internet. We don't want our kids' toys, connecting to the internet and getting random
Yeah, and you
updates.
don't. I get that you
Yeah.
don't want a camera and a microphone on
Oh,
it and a
no.
taser
No.
built in.
The taser. My Teddy Ruxpin has a taser.
Well, they had all kinds of crazy stuff at CES. They had like a like a autonomous like lawnmower and like all these like yard tools and stuff with these like spinning blades and like this like Roomba with a death trap on it, basically.
I've always said I would want an automatic lawnmower. I just want a lawn that nobody can go onto as well, so that
Every time somebody goes on it, the lawnmower goes at them.
it just chases them off. Yeah.
Keeps the kids off the lawn.
I remember the first time I went over to Brad's house. Somebody told me they're just fucking around. They said he had turrets that would pop out of the yard for intruders. You go through his yard, like it was like through 3 gates to get to his house. I was like, go through a gate, go into the next gate, go through the next gate, and now you're at his house. It was certainly secured with secret passages and all kinds of stuff. It was hardcore. So it wouldn't have surprised me if the turrets were there, but I never saw them. Now I'm sure they would be there within like the next year or so at the AI that's here.
Yeah.
And to what you were talking about Google, I gave the link to Jason that there is already a Google Home additional that you can have when you're searching something in Google, it gives you also the answer from ChatGPT.
Ooh, comparison. It's a
Mm.
fight
Now
now.
if we go to Google,
Yeah, they are only in. Of course, all of them are just testing how it works. So, but yeah, it's not long from here. Yeah.
It would be interesting to do a stream with 2 or 3 people asking ChatGPT the exact same thing, but in their own words or something, and seeing how the differences start coming out. I mean, you're going to get differences from the first response, even if you ask the same thing in the same words. But as it learns who it's talking to, you might start getting, like if you're trying to write a story or something, just to see where it can provide differences and similarities.
let's see. How do I add a pooled projectile in Unity? Let's see if it. There we go. Get the ChatGPT response on the side.
Did you have to sign into ChatGPT or anything, or is it
The
just
first
like...
time?
Yeah.
So it popped up
Okay.
and it gave me a little thing to click.
Okay, so it's your account that's being used. That's good to know.
Yeah, it looks like it, yeah. Okay, yeah, it's adding the responses. I mean, obviously it's much slower, but
Wow.
I could just go find one of my videos. Oh wait, well none of my videos are popping up. Yeah, definitely want to use ChatGPT.
I did
You
see
need
a
to ask
link for,
ChatGPT how to update your SEO.
Yeah,
I did see a
that's
link
actually
on there
not a
for,
bad idea. That's something I was considering doing.
And the second extension is somebody made a version that works with internet. Yeah, that gives you additional info from the web.
Oh wow, you have a link for that one too?
Yeah, I think
There's 2 in
one
the
second.
chat.
Yeah, I gave you 2 in the chat. Yeah, I haven't tested it yet. The one I just saw some videos about it. Didn't have time to check the web chat GPT.
Oh okay. Oh yeah, having it write me a description for the podcast.
with industry experts. Yeah.
Okay, and this is the other one, Web Chat GPT. Okay, I'm gonna have to install this one too. This is nuts. All right. Oh, here somebody asked for the links. I'll drop both of the links down here in chat for everybody, and we'll try to put them in the description if I remember to. If you want to see them in the description, leave a comment if I forget, or just leave one anyway, so that it gets lots of comments, and hit the thumbs up button. So, do you guys have any other AI related stuff or cool things you want to share or talk about today?
Nope. Maybe next week. Everything's going to change by next week. It's just moving so fast.
That's kind of my expectation. Like next week, I'm like, all right, well, now I just generated my 2D characters and my 3D models, and they're animating, Yep. And then the next week after that, I'm like, well, I just generated a game engine for me, and I just put my game into the game.
And the next week you'll be generating your own AI chatbot that can generate more AI chatbots. It's gonna be
AI level generators.
Yeah, and pretty soon it'll be like the paperclip thing where the whole internet will just be filled with chatbots creating more chatbots.
Oh, just overload.
Yep.
You mean Clippies creating more Clippies, right?
It's gonna be Clippies. The paper Clippies.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll start to wrap stuff up. Andrew, did you have anything cool to share on Infinity PBR wise? Any new assets coming out? You mentioned a cute new character, right?
Yeah, that's in the works. Join the Discord to check out that as I post works in progress. But we should have low poly stuff sometime soon. A couple new characters in there. They're still being worked on, so they're coming. A new Banshee character is nearly done with animations, and that one should be pretty phenomenal. It's a scary looking character that flies and crawls and is quite the horror. Working on other ones. We got a Demon Dog in the pipeline. We have a sci-fi character in the pipeline.
What's the sci-fi one?
This is the people request sci-fi, and so I had one of the artists make a sci-fi character. It's not rigged or animated yet. It's just modeled and textured, and once it gets rigged and animated, it's a sci-fi character. It's a humanoid alien sci-fi character, and I'll throw it on the Asset Store and see if people like it. So we'll see, and maybe in this new outsource company that I'm working with, if they work out well, maybe we can up the quantity of model. I need more animators. That's the problem, but that's the roadblock right now. And then we're still working.
Email Andrew.
Yes, so if you're an animator and you want to do Infinity PBR animations, then check out the animations and email me. And we're still working on making progress on the updates to the human, which I'm not going to put any dates on, because if we can do it well, we're going to redo the entire humanoid system to where all of our humanoids will have just one base body that is versatile, and it comes with you can do different heads, so that essentially any new humanoid we have, unless there's hand or head or foot armor, and even unless they have the same size hands, and then it would work perfectly fine, all of the wardrobe would be instantly day one shareable between all of the characters, which would allow us to create new things like dwarves and orcs and who knows, well, they're humanoids that we want to create that would have shareable wardrobe. Sci-fi, fantasy, shareable wardrobe. Westerns, so you can do a Cowboys versus Aliens movie just fine, or a video game just fine, because they would all be shareable. So that we're still working on that. No timeline, but if we can pull it off, it should be pretty phenomenal.
That sounds really cool. I want to see the sci-fi character too. I have to check that out. Get a sneak peek. I see you got some AI art in here too.
I use it for my thumbnails now. It's fun. I like making. I know some people just don't like doing AI art. It takes time. It's not always the most fun, I suppose, but I enjoy it. I think it's fun. So all my thumbnails for my streams, I spend like 30 minutes making the AI the perfect thumbnail before I do the stream. So it takes some time, but yeah, and I've been doing a lot of live streams recently, so definitely click the YouTube button on the site and check out my live streams.
Yeah, I've been, like I said before, watching quite a few of them. I always watch them from my TV though. I hit thumbs up, and then I'm like, I wish I could chat. Last time you were doing some serialization stuff. I remember you were writing some code, and I was like, Andrew really should be using this object initialization here. And I was about to just send you a message, and you're like, no, let me convert this to object initializer. I was like, oh, thank goodness. I don't have to harass him about this.
Yeah, I'm slowly taking the suggestions that are given to me by Ryder and learning about them and all that. And that stream in particular, I ended up going down the wrong path. And even during the stream, I kept saying, I think I'm doing this wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm doing this wrong. I need to ask my friend Jason about this, because I'm pretty sure I'm doing this wrong. And I was. But after some more work, I'm on the right path. And last night, things finally saved. So my thing saves, and now I just need to clean it up. And now the game modules, V4, when that comes out, will have a complete save and load system that all you have to do is call save and call load, and it just magically works.
That is amazing. That's probably going to be the coolest part. And just like, yep, your game now saves and loads. I think that's a big selling point.
Yeah,
that's very cool. So any new nature manufacturer stuff coming out or going on?
Yeah, we are working on 2 new assets. One is updating our lava asset and the river asset. But we have redone all the SDK, developed it, added new features to it, and added lots of new models to both of them. But the lava should be finished in a month or two. Yeah, and we also ported all the assets to new 2020.2.
2022?
Yeah, 2022.2. Yeah, the newest version that Unity released because there were few major bugs in it. We had to rewrite some of our shaders
I see.
to fix those.
You do a lot of these, and do you find that you have to do that often? Like with every version, is there some big update, or is it okay?
Yeah,
Every time there's always something.
every time there's something. But to be truthful, this version was specifically bad. That we had to check lots of stuff. Yeah, for me the biggest problem right now was that we couldn't bake the light on the older computers that we had for just baking lights, because the scene, I think it was mountain asset, it took normally about 4 gigabytes of RAM to bake light and took about 3 minutes. So now it takes about 26 gigabytes of RAM and takes about 15 minutes.
Oof. Yeah, that seems like an issue. Just need lots and lots more RAM and a much faster computer. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. So, have any sales going on right now, or you're waiting for the next one to come out?
We are waiting for the next one, and we are preparing to launch our new asset. Yeah, we had 2 humble bundles. We were in the last sale, and now just waiting for the next one.
Very, very cool. And then Johnny, did you have anything I can pop up here and share?
Yeah. Actually, just put up a video today. Let me send you the link here. First one in a while. It's kind of like my CES recap. So actually, the kind of primary reason that I went out to CES is I had the opportunity to work on a DOS project, and we're actually showcasing it in a booth at CES. So it was kind of a little combo thing where I was able to showcase that. Actually, let me see. Let me get you like the timestamp. If you skip to 2:45, yeah, the next chapter over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so then this will be kind of a little preview of what we were showcasing, but it's actually a super unique setup. It's kind of uses like dots on the server side for like really fast, efficient processing. Basically, the idea of the project is we were simulating what the CPU load and network traffic would be like to have 1,000 VR network connected users all in the same world. Yeah, so like typically VR applications, they're going to cap out around 40 to 80 users, something like that. So this is basically us simulating what it would be like to have 1,000 in the same world. So it uses dots kind of on the server side for a lot of the processing, and then it actually sends that over a network protocol that we've created, and it captures it on an Unreal client on the front end. So we have the Unreal client on the front end where we're using Nanite and Lumen and stuff. That's actually a little test client that I had set up using Unity, just because it doesn't really matter what you're using for the front end. So like, yeah, as I was kind of developing the server side stuff, I just had a Unity client on the front end to test. And then for the final one, we showcased it using Unreal on the front end.
Was that just so you could have lots of high definition characters and good frame rate? Was it just a rendering thing, or was there just
yeah this is actually being kind of developed for another project that required using Nanite and Lumen. So
okay, so it's kind of to show that cross. You got the server side using Unity and dots, and then the client side using Unreal and Lumen Nanite. That's actually pretty interesting. That's like a neat combination, probably a rare one. Get some of the coolest tech out of both sides of the game engines.
Yeah, definitely.
That is cool. And then you talked about a lot of other stuff at that event at CES, I assume. Yeah, it looks like you got all kinds of cool stuff here, man.
Yeah, and then I kind of just did a recap of a bunch of the stuff I saw. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that, there's definitely a lot of cool things. So
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun, man. I got to go with you next year. And if you're not already
absolutely
subscribed, go subscribe to Johnny's channel now. Turbo Makes Games. Here, I'll drop the link in chat. Everybody can go subscribe and check it out. Watch that video. Cool. Well, I think that's all I had for this week, guys. Thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks for joining us. Please hit the thumbs up button. Almost nobody did yet, so tap that. Subscribe. Leave a comment afterwards if you got anything interesting, especially if you know of some cool, interesting AI stuff that's been coming out. You got something that we should check out and share. It's like I'm finding out about these things by asking people. And also, if you have a talk idea, don't forget to share that. I'll put the link in chat too. If you'd like to do a talk at GameDev Guild for 2023, very interested in, like I said, actionable. Just talks that your regular old developer can use. Anything that's like a solo developer up to somebody on a full team. Just not something that requires a full team. That's the only thing I want to require. Like nothing that's like you need a team of 20 artists before you'll ever be able to use this. None of that kind of stuff. But anything else. So cool.
Do you mind if the content is accurate yet written by ChatGPT?
To be honest, I wouldn't really care as long as it's presented right by the person. Yeah,
As long as the
and
person
I
makes it
expect
their
there's
own.
going to be a couple AI ones. There were 2 people I think that have already submitted some AI related talks, and I totally expect that to be probably a relatively big theme. Yeah, my expectation is probably going to be like anywhere from 10 to 20% of the conference will be AI related sessions because it's huge and it's interesting and it's something that everybody can use. So cool. Any final words, guys?
Have a great day and a great weekend.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you in the next one, and goodbye.
See ya.